This video was brought to you thanks to War Thunder. In the 1960s, El Salvador and Honduras were under military dictatorships and initially had good diplomatic relations. Despite centuries-old land disputes, they were both part of the Central American Defense Council, which aimed at crushing left-wing political movements in the region, and they were also in the Central American Common Market, which reduced trade barriers, and in 1967, the two nations ratified a treaty on immigration. However, there was a stark difference between both countries. First of all, El Salvador had a far stronger economy and benefited from being in the common market, while the weaker industry of Honduras suffered under it, and both were experiencing an increase in populations. But although it was just 1/6 of the size of Honduras, El Salvador had a much larger population. This drain on resources encouraged 300,000 Salvadorians to cross the border into Honduras. In Honduras, however, President Osvaldo López Arellano tried to curb growing discontent with the economy and gave into pressure from domestic landowners. So in 1969, he didn't renew the immigration treaty and began to expel El Salvadorans, quarters from the land they occupied. Scapegoating and national pride then encouraged many Hondurans to discriminate against and even attack the Salvadorians that remained. In May 1969, the El Salvadoran president, Fidel Sánchez Hernández, increased tensions by having the photos of the attacks published. Meanwhile, in the qualifications to the World Cup of 1970, both nations had finished top of their group and were set to face each other in the semi-final. On June 8, 1969, in the Honduran capital, Honduras beat El Salvador 1-0 after the first game, which saw violence between the fans. A young El Salvadoran girl shot herself. After seeing her country lose, she became a national hero, given a televised funeral, and this subsequently spurred on further violence. As the Hondurans traveled to El Salvador, the following week, Honduran fans were killed. Their team traveled in armored cars. The hotel was pelted with eggs, and a rag was flown instead of their national flag. El Salvador won the game 3-0, meaning the two teams had to play again in Mexico City. The final leg ended with El Salvador winning 3-2, claiming victory in extra time and progressing to the final. But in the aftermath of their defeat, Hondurans attacked El Salvadoran immigrants. President Hernández blamed the Honduran government for allowing what he called a genocide. Then on July 14th, 2 weeks after their last football match, and diplomatic relations had been severed, he sent his air force to bomb Honduras. Although the bombings targeted airfields, the Honduran Air Force was able to respond and deliver a decisive blow to their advance by bombing their oil tanks and supply lines. On the ground, El Salvador made quick gains, but by the 16th it became apparent that, with limited supplies and poor weather, they could not maintain their momentum. Meanwhile, the Organization of American States had held emergency meetings and demanded a ceasefire. Salvador initially demanded reparations, but gave into the pressure, and a ceasefire was signed just 4 days into the fighting. Further threats of sanctions forced El Salvador to withdraw from Honduras completely. The conflict resulted in the deaths of a couple thousand people, mainly Honduran civilians, and it also put a halt to the South American integration agreements and policies. For the next couple of decades, plus thousands of El Salvadorians fled Honduras and returned home. This put further strain on the economy and land, and this in turn helped cause El Salvador in civil war a decade later. And if you're interested, El Salvador beat Haiti to qualify to the World Cup in Mexico, but at the World Cup they lost every match. This video was brought to you thanks to War Thunder, a huge free-to-play online military vehicle game. There you can take control of more than 1,500 historical vehicles, including tanks, aircraft, helicopters, and ships from the 1930s all the way up to the 1990s. Plus, they constantly update the game every couple of months, so you and the other 20 million players will get fresh, new vehicles and maps to try your skill. So give it a go and sign up today for free, using the link in the description below to get your free premium vehicle and a 3-day account boost as a bonus, and you can enjoy their amazing graphics, not just on the PC, but also on the PS4 and Xbox One as well. Go sign up today, and you will not just be supporting this channel, but will get all of this and more completely free. And good luck on the battlefield.